I'm joined by Richard Scott as ever. Hello, Richard.
Good to be here as ever, Andy.
Yes, I'm so glad because this is session 2 of 2026 on all things medicine. I was chatting to somebody who knows you earlier, and they said, "Oh, yes, I know Richard. Yes, lovely chap. He knows Trevor too."
He obviously doesn't know me that well. Who was it?
I didn't want to say anything too much. It's a chap called David who's a doctor, not far from you.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
So we talk about medicine. You are now a retired GP with an interest in medicine, which is still exciting. And I know the topic already because we don't normally tell me before we start, but I know where you're going with this one. And I am genuinely excited with how you're going to tie this into either medicine or the Bible. This should be fun.
Well, I'll see what I can do. Shall I start off?
I'll go for it.
Okay. Well, as our listeners know, I try to bring something, at least most weeks, medical, of interest and topical, something that's come up in the news, perhaps that people have missed. Which is why last week I was actually very excited to bring the message on, well, not message so far, but the news that young people are getting bowel cancer, 75% more than in the past. Pre-1990. So that's a pretty serious topic. But I just thought this week, maybe something lighter. And then Andy's eyes lit up when I said, who saw the article on Veronica the cow on the TV or in the news? If you didn't, this is for you. If you did, well, just check her out online. Essentially, in fact, it's one of those ones, you watch the news, the presenters are terribly serious, and then suddenly they light up at the end because someone's seen Veronica, who is a Swiss brown cow, 13 years of age, do something amazing using tools. So we're going to come to. I'll leave you sort of with lips wetted. I'll come to Veronica in a moment, but it got me thinking about tool use in animals and where humans come in relation to animals. Now, older listeners, so people who perhaps my age, even Andy's age, will know that for many, many years, tool use was considered to be a uniquely human attribute. But in 1927, because I checked this out online, 1927, chimpanzees in captivity were observed using tools. Since when they've been found to use tools in the wild. For example, using sticks to dig out grubs from deep inside bark. Now, those of us who like animal and plant programs, which I do, wildlife programs, will probably have seen monkeys using stones to bash crabs out of shells. Further down the animal kingdom, sea otters will also use stones to smash shells of shellfish. Clever birds with large brains, so we're talking crows, the corvid family, particularly New Caledonian crows, this is really clever. They'll take a straight stick and bend it at one end to make a hook, because again, it's better for digging out insects. Clever things. So usually food is the impetus for animals using tools. I'd rather like, if you ever watch dolphins, they'll protect their noses with sea sponges when they're foraging in sharp places like coral. So that's quite smart. Tough on the sea sponges, but smart for the coral, smart for the dolphins. Animals will use tools, however, for other purposes. And this is where we're going to come to Veronica the cow in just a sec. Chimps have been seen using sticks as a depth gauge. So they're about to enter a lake. Oh, how deep is this? They'll take a long stick and dig it in as a depth gauge. That's clever. Rather wonderfully, check out a bonobo chimp called Kanzi, Kanzi, died last year at 44 years of age, taught how to use fire. I've seen this. This is stunning. This chimp has been taught how to set a fire, use a match, and cook marshmallows. Sensational. Personally, I don't like marshmallows, but I get where it's coming from. To be fair, the chimp had to be provided with the matches. She couldn't rub up fire herself, as it were. But how clever is that? This brings me back to Veronica the cow. Now, she was observed, age 3, picking up sticks to scratch herself with. I've always thought being a cow is a rough thing because you can use their tail to swish away flies. But you get an itch on the back. That's an issue when you've only got 4 hooves on the ground. However, Veronica the cow picks up sticks. She's now perfected the technique, bear in mind that she's 13. And there's a lovely clip on the internet where she can use a broom and both ends. So if she wants a sort of softer scratch, she'll use the hairy end of the broom. But if she wants a more localized, sharper scratch, she'll use the point end of the broom. In other words, this is known as using a multi-purpose tool. And she's not alone in the cow world. Others from different lineage, like Brahmin bulls, do likewise. And the comment being, perhaps this behavior in cows dates back a long way. It's just that we haven't been looking for it. So a bit of fun puts a smile on everyone's faces. What's in it for us today, if you like? Well, what occurred to me, Andy, and I'll be interested to see what you think about this, is perhaps it should make human beings a little less arrogant as a species. You know, we're the only species that uses tools. Well, we're not. We're the only species that uses language. Wrong again. How many clicks and sounds have we been found to discover that dolphins use, that whales use? You know, clicks all over the place. We're just beginning to learn what they're talking about. What about, this is a good one, what about the only species that can assist another species? Wrong. Check out on the internet, loads of animals coming to the rescue of other animals. The best documented are humpback whales saving smaller animals against killer whales, orcas. Dogs can be guard dogs protecting other animals. Llamas, very good guard dogs or guard llamas. Donkeys. In Tanzania, one of my Indian friends used to use geese, hugely noisy, protecting the yard where he lived. Rather wonderful one I came across last week. There's a video of a gorilla helping prevent a baby elephant being killed by a huge python. Now, this is very interesting because we're not talking about where both animals benefit. That's known as symbiosis, like clownfish, for example, living amongst stinging sea anemones, where both animals will benefit. This is where there's no obvious benefit or even danger to one animal. This is truly altruistic behavior. So I guess what I'm sort of bringing to the table today really is, you know, I love, and we all love, as time goes by, scientists learning more about ourselves. And, you know, that's, for example, you know, learning more about how perhaps if bad bacteria, E. coli bacteria, are causing more bowel cancer in young people, then we need to target these bacteria to reduce cancer. That's very good. But I love the way scientists also discover things about animals and plants, of course, all the species that God has made. And perhaps our God is even more marvelous than we thought, because his creatures are even more marvelous than we thought. And that should humble us before our Father. We're not the only species to do X, Y, and Z, because often animals, and dare I say, even plants can communicate. We know that. However, what a wonderful creator we have.
I like that one. I've seen some pictures, a bit of video of a cow. And of course, as you first look at this in 2026, you're thinking, that's just artificial intelligence. That's not real. That's ridiculous. No, hang on a minute. That's not artificial. This is real. Of course, then you've got that dynamic today, because you can tell a computer, hey, make this happen. And it does. It doesn't necessarily look perfectly real, but you can get away with it a bit.
But researchers have seen Veronica in the flesh do this, and they're very excited. Actually, funnily enough, it's researchers from Austria who are reporting a Swiss cow. So there's, you know, they're okay with that.
No, that's fine.
But it's fantastic.
I was just thinking about how often we look to wildlife, nature for, I mean, military applications. It's a lot more obvious, I suppose. Was it the B-2 bomber that the Americans built? That basically was that when you look at a particular bird, they mimicked it on, it's identical, because they looked at nature and thought, that bird flies really well. There's no resistance there. We could do that. And they've copied it and made this. I mean, okay, so it's a war thing. You might have your opinions on that. But as a plane, it is unbelievably good because they've mimicked nature.
They're so well designed. I mean, when scientists are thinking, how can a bumblebee fly when it's fantastically impossible to do so? But it does. What can we learn from that? And of course, owls who fly absolutely quietly, totally quietly. How is that done? And they've learned about the feathers and resistance, and the applications for aeronautics are there. There's so much we can learn from the animal kingdom. But I love it when animals, if you like, turn our arrogance on ourselves and say, hey, listen, you watch me use this tool. You watch me with this language. You watch me help another species. And other things that no doubt we'll discover about them are marvellous.
It's great. I remember watching something. Was it Steve Backshall? He's the guy that likes to do all the deadly animal stuff. And I think he was trying to race a cheetah. It's a tame cheetah, okay? And it would not move. No matter what they did, it would not move. And I love the fact, yes, well, the cheetah's faster if it can be bothered, but you've got to wait for it to do what it wants. You can't force it. That's the thing I love
probably,
about
in a
nature.
100-metre race, he'd probably wait till Backshall got about sort of 95 metres down the line before he set off and still win.
I love it, but I just love the fact that they're going to try and race a man against a cheetah. It's going to be faster if it wants to move. But as much as we can train any animal to some degree. We can't control it, and that's one of the things that I think it's really pertinent to remember, because the animals are still animals. They can be doing amazing things. We've seen films, we've seen bears that are friendly raised from captivity, we've seen amazing dogs doing things and tricks, and it's all trained, but we still can't control them. We can only train them to a point.
No, that's a very good point. But this cow was doing this spontaneously. She hadn't been trained to pick up a stick, but over 10 years she's perfected her technique, so she gets less itches, I guess, than ever. And as she passes on her genes to other cows in the future, hopefully this behavior will continue. I feel for cows. It must be awful having an itch in the hind region when there's nothing you can do about it.
I know, their tails aren't that long. I mean, they can do a bit. They're not that perfect. Yeah, I love it. I just love the fact there's animals doing stuff. I mean, if you're English and you've watched the Tai Fu Tetley, was it Tai Fu Tea? One of them with the monkeys and stuff. They were taught to use a tea set. I mean, we can train all sorts of things.
Oh, you're older than I think, Andy. Go back further.
Yeah.
Or you've researched the archives.
I just remember that one. But this is the thing. Animals are amazing and they're incredible. When God made the world, he said, to rule over them and give them names. And, we need to care for the animal kingdom. I do believe that really matters. I'm not a fan of the world's going to end in 2 years for a few reasons. One, it's not in the Bible, but
that's a good enough reason.
That's a good enough reason. But I do think we need to care for animals, and we got a lot to learn from them. We really do. We can't just say, it's just an animal. Yes, but let's learn from them.
Yeah. No, they have super skills and super attributes. It's just funny when they pick up some of ours.
Yes, have I shared this before? We used to live near a supermarket, and every so often you'd hear a truck was reversing onto the loading bay of the supermarket. It was a big one, and you'd hear the reversing siren. It had a particular tone for this particular supermarket. And then one day we heard it when we knew there weren't any trucks because we could see across this valley what's making the noise. And there was a bird that had mimicked the sound so precisely. Me as a trucker thinking, I can't see the truck, but it's coming from over there. There's no truck. I'm going mad. And we eventually found the bird. And it used to mimic the sound of a reversing truck. It was a particular sequence of siren. It wasn't just a beep, beep, beep. It was more than that. And this bird had totally, perfectly mimicked it.
Well, that's clever. Of course, yes, I forgot to mention parrots and minor birds, who are absolute specialists in this area. Good point.
Yeah, we need to respect animals. And they're great. I mean, they can be good pets. Crocodiles, not so much.
My father-in-law used to say, why did God make crocodiles? Which is a very good question, one I don't have the answer to.
No, I have held a crocodile, and they are quite scary. It's a baby one.
Even at birth, they can take off your little finger.
Yes, we were told so. Don't remove the tape from the mouth of this little tiny crocodile. You have a finger left. I like the cow thing. It's good. It reminds us that we are not as perfect as we think we are. If we ever are arrogant enough to think we're better than everybody else, do you know what? There's a cow somewhere using a broom better than you can, so keep yourself in check.
Absolutely.
If that could be a conclusion. If you've got any thoughts on the cow, brooms, or anything else more medicinal, then let us know. Hello at pure247radio.org. Hello at pure247radio.org. You can email us, and of course you can read Richard in the magazine, Pure Media, the magazine, coming out soon.
Thanks.
The February edition of Pure Media, the magazine, features some amazing chat with our Atlantic roots. This truly lovely and down-to-earth folk duo sit down with us to talk music, life, faith and travel. Martin Bateman sits down with us too to talk about Ambassadors football. He talks about how he came to be where he is today. If you love football, you'll love this. If you love life, you'll love it even more. With a 6-month subscription to the UK costing just £48, including postage, head over to puremediathemagazine.com and you'll be properly sorted with this amazing magazine arriving at your door to brighten your day and your world. Yes, it really is that good. We also have subscriptions available for the US and more, so go check it out now. With no AI, this amazing magazine is made by real people for real people. Pick up yourself a copy. You won't want to put it down. Nobody does. We are always on point and always in print at www.puremediathemagazine.com.